Hello, we are back with another video talking about the assault battles, this time the military might. If you haven't already watched my previous video on the military might assault battle, there's a link right there, go check it out, also down in the description. This video is going to be primarily focused on tier 3 and how I beat it using CLS, Han, Chewie, 3PO, and of course Backpack Chewie, as I like to call him. This team is pretty amazing. I autoed the entire thing. Some of the tips from my other video can certainly be used here. First, I'm going to talk about modding this squad. There are a couple things I think are really important, and I need to cover just modding the rebels in general first, because this is how I think the rebels should be modded in general for GAC or T-Dub, and also for this assault battle. So this is a good time to go through, check out your mods. As you can tell, I've already beat tier 3 here. So if we go into tier 2, this is the squad that I'm of course using: CLS, Han, Chewie, 3PO, and Chewie. I want to show you guys something kind of interesting. This I think is really important. Because I want guard on 3PO and Chewie. Han gets it automatically. Traditionally, you've wanted it on CLS because he's fast, he attacks often. That's not the best use of it for multiple reasons. One being the fact that 3PO and Chewie attack so often. They attack every turn, kind of like Chewie does. So you want him to always be able to do that, not be able to get stunned, not be able to get dazed. Very important. Also, CLS, he can get rid of his own buffs, or debuffs, and he can heal himself. 3PO and Chewie can't really heal himself very well. So you need Chewie coming in and healing 3PO and Chewie. Now, alright, so I'm going to leave my squad set up like this. I'm going to go into the battle, and you're going to see who guard is on. Guard is on 3PO and Chewie, not CLS. Now, I'm going to back out. Going to go back here. We're going to sort back by rebels. And what I am going to do is I am going to swap the position of Backpack Chewie and Chewbacca. Now, watch what this does to who has guard. Gives it to CLS. The reason is because of the way unique abilities and that stuff works in Chain of Command. It kind of works from your leader spot and works its way down whenever adding, adding unique abilities and all that sort of stuff as far as the way it gets calculated. So you want to help ensure that, if you're having an issue getting guard on 3PO and Chewie, try swapping those spots around. Put Chewie up higher, put Backpack Chewie as your very last character, and then go in. And you will see that he does, in fact, have guard if you have them modded properly. Now, as for modding, this is also a pretty important factor. My CLS, I have got modded very high health and protection for this reason, because I want Backpack Chewie to have guard. I do not want CLS to have it. Also, I have a lot of speedy mods on him. If you can get away with doing a speed set or an offense set and still getting guard on 3PO and Chewie, fantastic, do it. But CLS isn't super tanky, so I had to do this to get those numbers where they needed to be in order for 3PO and Chewie to be guarded. And of course, if you have a lower gear 3PO and Chewie, you might be able to do that without much issue. And you'll notice that I don't even have a crit damage triangle on him. CLS is there entirely for survivability, to go often, to call assists, and just kind of survive. That is a difference that, that I've done since getting 3PO and Chewie versus before 3PO and Chewie was added to this CLS team. My Han is the exact same as he's always been. I have 3 offense primaries. I have a crit damage set, and I look for high secondary offense percent, because that stuff is very important for Han, because, well, let's be honest, he's amazing. Just does a lot of damage. And, he does a pretty good job at keeping himself healed up, so not really much of an issue there. Now, traditionally with Chewbacca, I have always gotten high tenacity, which is pretty great. I mean, tenacity is awesome because it calls in Chewie to do 20% health damage, which is amazing. You don't want that to go. However, one thing that will wreck you more than Chewie not being able to attack will be losing Chewie and then losing guard on Han and Backpack Chewie. That is far more detrimental to your team than Chewie not getting in a few attacks. So I have switched up my modding here, and I have gone to, 2 health sets and one health set and 2 defense sets, a crit avoidance arrow, 3 protection primaries, and I have looked for a lot of secondary defense, some speed, a little bit of, all of those, primarily defense and speed, defense percent, being the secondary stats I am looking for on Chewbacca. And also that crit avoidance arrow. I think that crit avoidance arrow is absolutely huge. It does make a considerable difference on Chewie. I highly recommend you guys try that. Even if it doesn't have a ton of speed, I think that's still the way to go, because he really doesn't need to be that fast. He is, in a way, he's a tank on this team. While he can still do decent damage, C3 or 3PO and Chewie having guard is too important. So that is basically how I've got him modded. And then if we go to C3PO, it's basically high health, some potency, speed, pretty traditional. I have him modded so that I can use him on a Padme squad or my CLS squad. Either one doesn't really matter. So I don't really ever move his mods. And then 3PO and Chewie, I do have the potency primary there because an offense primary is heavily mitigated because of the stat sharing that he gets from CLS. I can talk about that in a later video, but I do not recommend a offense primary on him. I think, health or protection or potency is the best way to go. Potency actually being probably the number one. I do have an offense set with a crit chance set. And if we go look at my stats, you will see he is pretty fast. I do have some really, really good mods on him. But if you go look at his crit chance, 71%. And I want to get 75, but I'm not quite there. If I take him to Relic 7, he will be effectively at 75%. But the reason he's there is because, of course, he gets 25% for being guarded. So almost every attack he does will be a crit. He has an AoE that hits so many times. It's important to have that super high crit chance, kind of like what I've talked about in previous video with Rebel Officer Leia Organa. You want high crit chance when you're hitting that many attacks, and just to kind of optimize the damage output there. But that the guard is the biggest thing, getting that extra 25% crit chance, and given that he attacks so freaking often, constantly, every time somebody does something, he's getting called in to attack. And so for that reason, you don't really need a ton of speed on him. While getting blind out often is good, more often being even better, that's great. There is a lot of turn mirror gain with this team. You don't really need him to be super fast, but max crit damage, super important. Super high crit chance, super important. Some potency, super important. So, like I said, if you're 3PO and Chewie slower, don't really worry about it. You are focused on hitting the crit damage and crit chance numbers primarily, and then after that, doing some speed, and also keeping him relatively low health and protection so that he can get guard. So yeah, that is the modding of this team and just Rebels in general. And then, of course, on the video, the actual run, this thing took me, I think, 5 minutes. It was under 5 minutes, full auto on tier 3. The most important thing about running this team on tier 3, when you first get into it, use that special ability. That special ability will give you some healing effects, but it will also do the super important thing of calling in an assist when you do an ability. So that persists through the entire battle. Even if you don't see the little buff above their head, you are still calling in assists. You can kind of pay attention to the number of attacks. You do get the extra attacks for the rest of the battle. So do that from the very beginning and then work your way through. Wave 4 can be a little tricky with Krennic and Death Trooper. Krennic can absolutely wreck you. So, kind of keep that in mind. You're going to want to be controlling there a little bit. Save the shore troopers for last if you can. Take out Death Troopers and Krennic. And then whenever you get to a final wave, stun Thrawn, let Emperor Palpatine AoE because you will counter, and then try to stop Vader. Vader is the issue. You're not worried about the stuns really because you have several characters on this team that aren't going to get stunned. And then you're going to counter, which is just good for you. So you don't want to get fractured, and you don't want Vader to smash everything. So those are kind of my top tips, all the same basic strategy and nuances as my previous video. I thought it was really important to kind of cover the modding, the most effective modding for the squad. So hope you guys enjoyed this video and found it helpful. If you did, hit the subscribe button. If you don't already listen to the podcast, I highly suggest you check us out every single week. It's really fun. We talk a lot of strategy, modding, all sorts of stuff. It's a great time. Come hang out for an hour and a half or so with us and chat some swagger. And if you want to support the show, sub on Twitch, sub here on YouTube, patreon.com/shoutoutorder if you would like. We would appreciate all of those things. And also, finally, shout out to Blue Designs, who support our show and make really, really amazing products. If you've heard of the Yeti, like every streamer uses it for a reason. It's an amazing microphone. They make that. It is just awesome high quality products. So there's a link down below for you to click if you would like to check out their products. And we will catch you guys next time. Later.